Everybody lives in their own mind, and in their mind they have a home. The home is all the things that they have gotten used to believing, the experiences they're used to having, the routine. It's something that they've built for themselves. They live in there. This is their home. This is what they know. Change anything and they're going to feel like something is off. They're going to need to adjust. Because the brain has to always predict what's going to happen in order to prepare the right emotions and feelings and processes in order to create what needs to happen. The brain is constantly predicting, and the brain is preparing the body based on those predictions. So when anything is out of the routine, when anything is out of the normal, the brain suddenly has to adjust, has to compensate, because it finds itself doing something that's wrong based on the circumstances that are happening now. It's preparing for something that's not taking place. So this home the brain creates for itself, has in it all kinds of features, things that help us and things that hurt us. And all these things are residing in our imagination. They have no other place to live in. We created them, we store them, and we live by them. But then, sometimes, in order to become better people, we need to come out of that. We need to change where we're experiencing from. We need to realize that we've created a big buffer between ourselves and reality in order to protect ourselves from reality. But reality is really the place where we want to be. We don't want to protect ourselves from it. We don't want to expose ourselves to reality in a way that's not comfortable, or that's beyond the level of comfort that we can handle. But we want to be able to experience reality from a house, from a home, which means a set of beliefs and understandings that allow us to interact with life in a way that is more in tune with who we are before we're born and after we die. Because that's our real identity, practically, as far as this world is concerned. Who are we really? We're the ones that we were before we came in, and we're going to be after we leave. Everything that happens here is happening in front of our eyes, but we don't really know what's taking place. We don't understand it. And so now we might think we're many things. We're not those things. We're only what we were before and what we will be after. That's all we can be. And the home that we create for ourselves might be very different than that. And if we live our entire life in that home, then we're never doing anything that's really meaningful to who we really are. So come into the Sukkot, it means that we are ready to go into the unknown. We're ready to go into a dira that's not keva. You can't set yourself up and say, oh, I know what it is, and now I'm going to do everything based on that. No, you're coming into a place where you say, I don't know what it is. I'm going to do everything based on that, because that's more real. I'm not going to pretend to myself that I know, and therefore feel protected. I'm going to realize that I don't know, and therefore feel protected. Because I'm going to behave from that place. That's going to be the yesod. I don't know, and nobody else knows either. From there we have to come as the base. Then we can start discussing what's appropriate to do when we don't know. If we haven't placed the base, if we're not coming from that point of view that we recognize that we don't know, then everything we're going to argue, everything we're going to say is already wrong. It's not based on the truth. It's based on a home that is not in reality. Somebody's made themselves very comfortable in their home. Very nice. But is it based in reality? Will the person that I was before I was born and after I die agree with that definition of reality? If not, then that home is not really a home. That home is an illusion. So when we don't know, it's much easier to see who's right and who's wrong. If we already know that nobody knows, then we can look at their behavior and see if it's right or wrong. It's very simple. If we thought they knew, we might say, oh, but what if he knows and therefore he's doing it? Maybe there's a justification in what he knows. He doesn't know. So is what he's doing, is it right or is it wrong? It's very simple. Whatever the justifications are, those are in his mind. That's in him. That he's creating because he wants to act this way. So now we can see very clearly who is doing right and who is doing wrong. What are they doing? Very simple. The story doesn't matter. They made up a story because this is what they want to do. Everybody's creating this story based on whatever he can live with, and then he needs a story to live there. But that's not safe. That's not safe because it's not aligned with any reality. The reality is we don't know. In the ancient world, people accepted this reality. Everybody was aware that we don't know. How can we know? Different people knew different things. Different people knew more how much we cannot know, and therefore they were much wiser. But nobody knew. If somebody would have known, then this entire riddle that we're facing wouldn't have been here. We're facing a riddle because it's been a riddle. It is a riddle. It never was not a riddle. And we're not meant to figure it out. We're meant to learn how to go along with it. Because it's not here in order to offend us in any way. We've been offending it for whatever reason. We've been offending it because we thought we knew. We knew so good, we knew better than reality itself while it's happening. We knew that it shouldn't be happening this way and it should have been happening differently. That's how much we knew. That's how convinced we were that we built our house just so, exactly with reality. And when reality didn't conform, how dare reality not conform? Who does reality think it is? Rather than realizing we don't know. So let's create an attitude that is suitable for one that does not know. So in Sukkot, we leave the illusion of knowing. Why can we afford to leave that illusion? Because we've received forgiveness. Why do people have to believe that they know? Because they're afraid. They're afraid of their own guilt. They're afraid of what might really happen to them. They're afraid that if they face reality, maybe reality doesn't like them. Maybe they've offended reality. And so they rather stick to their story than realize that they don't know. When they don't know, they're guessing. What are they guessing? That depends how they feel about reality. How's their relationship? If they feel guilty, they're guessing that things are not going to be the way they want. Therefore, let me stick to what I know. I'll believe to what I believe. You have people doing the worst things in the world, and they have their religious services that they do religiously. This is how they get protection. Why? Because this is what they believe. As long as they believe it, it psychologically protects them. It does. But they're not going to be able to believe it once they leave their body. Over there, they're just going to see what is. Whatever happened is what happened. There's no way to create something that's going to argue with that. In the body, we can create whatever we want. So to go out into the sukkah is Tziladim Emnusa. Tziladim Emnusa means that we have protection from the unknown. We're not afraid to realize that we don't know, because even though we don't know, we know that whatever made us is good. We just can observe that firsthand. We don't have to believe that. And even though the way we're doing it is not pleasant, but everybody can realize the potential of what could be based on creation itself, if creation was implemented the way that it was intended. And so from there we see the kindness of whatever creates. It gives us the opportunity to do it right. It is so kind and generous, it even gives us the opportunity to do it wrong. It doesn't interfere. We can become as stupid as we want and hurt ourselves as much as we want, and it will let us. This has been proven throughout history. But we can also do what's right. We can help each other grow. We can realize what's great in each other and in ourselves and work on our strengths. We can become much more of what we are also. And it's easy to access it if we have our intentions properly. If we remember what's important, if we remember what to focus on. So this is a time to shake whatever it is that is not serving us, that is not serving humanity within our personality, within our character. A time of forgiveness. We celebrate forgiveness, which means that we celebrate the newness of the soul, that it can always renew at any point. It can start fresh, and it has an opening to the well within, the well of life. It can receive as much life as it wants, but it needs to want with all of it. That's the language that speaks to the source. When it wants life, it receives life. It doesn't want life, it receives less. Until people forget how to want life. They haven't wanted for so long, they've forgotten how to want. Children want life, naturally, they always want. They want more and more and more and more and more. So we want to wake up. We want to wake up our desire for life. We want to remember. Because this affects us physically. This is not simply theoretical. This is something we can feel. This is the energy that we live on. This is constantly what keeps us going. Is this? What are we telling ourselves? What do we think is happening? The brain is preparing for what it expects. It's not preparing for any reality other than what does your story say comes next. It's preparing everything. The entire body is being prepared for that. So this is a time where we can hit the refresh button. We can come out from the old and see things anew, see things in a way that is closer to the way that they really are. And if every time we come closer, then soon enough, we'll be there. We'll be in a place where we can constantly have access to life as much as we need, which is what our body was designed to do. There's no downtime. There's no time when there's so much confusion that we can't stay connected to our source, that we can't feel like we were meant to be here. When the body is capable of doing that, that starts a process of appeasement until the soul completely unites with itself, with its source, which means that the conscious mind becomes aware of who it was unconsciously the whole time. Because as long as there's conflict, as long as there's no stability, then there is also distance between the conscious and the unconscious, between creator and creation, between the source of life and the life force that's experiencing it. And when the stability comes, this is when reconciliation happens. Until there was no longer any two that could have been in conflict in the first place. It was all an illusion. This is the truth. But the truth, as long as it's not discovered, is still suffering. This we know from experience. Our truth is great. Our discovering it is a bit a delay. And so we know that this distance causes suffering. But the truth, when it becomes revealed, is what removes all suffering. The realization that you have been creating all your experiences based on external stimuli, but yet you gaining access to those areas that were creating those experiences and being able to do what is necessary for yourself, this is what causes the spirit to find peace and stability. There's no longer external stimuli causing the ups and downs. And so this stability comes from coming out of the house. The house is the places where you used to getting your stimulation. This is what you are counting on. This is what your brain is expecting in order to feel engaged with life. Coming out into the unknown is being stimulated simply by life itself, by what's constantly happening. The fact that you exist, the fact that you have a body, the fact that there was someone somewhere with the power to make you that decided to make you. So those places are sources of stability. The wonder is always there if we can see it with the right eyes. It makes no sense that you're here. It makes no sense. There's no odds. There's not 1 in a trillion odds that you should be here. And yet you're here. We can't deny it based on the mathematics. But it proves to us that what the mathematics tells us is not the truth. Mathematics is just telling us odds of things. Reality is simply what is. Reality is 100%. It always exists the way that it is. And so this is what we have already. This is what we have to work with. This is more than enough to work with for a healthy brain, for a healthy heart. This is more than enough to keep us engaged for thousands of years. But only if we're not in conflict with it. Only if we don't come with our prearranged ideas and say, life, now you have to conform to what I say. That attitude will never get us anywhere. We wouldn't do it with people, and yet we do it with life. With people, we would understand that if we come with terms and we just tell them this is the way it needs to be, that they're going to push back. Life pushes back much harder. So coming into the unknown is realizing we don't know. Based on the fact that we don't know, why should we dictate to life what it's meant to be? Why should we have any opinions at all about what it's meant to be? What gives us the qualification to have those opinions? Those opinions will cause chemical interactions in our brain. They will cause expectations. They will cause reactions when things are happening. We're not qualified to have those opinions. Reality is just going to happen. How about we set our standard that whatever happens, this is the way that we want it. That's our standard. Whatever happens. We can still try to maneuver, but at the end of the day, whatever happens, that's the only thing that it is. That's the only thing that was available in the first place. Everything else was an illusion. If we don't carry the illusion, we have much more control over whatever happens. Because then we're real, then we're available to what's happening and we make it our best. If we're busy trying to tell what needs to happen and it's affecting our mood, we're not really doing what's best. We're distracted, we're somewhere else entirely. We're becoming a burden to the situation. And so what happens is best. What happens has to be best. The one that designs what happens, he's smarter than us. He made us happen. So if it happens, this is what's best. Because we don't know anything else. We have no basis for any arguments. If we live like that, then there's no conflict. If there's no conflict, then it really will be better. And then it becomes easier to love what is. And this cycle can get out of control, and it should. Because once you don't object, once you've created that rhythm where you allow, so now your energy is going to repair. You're no longer trying to control things you couldn't control in the first place. You're just aware. You're admitting to a fact that has already beat you in the face so many times. You cannot control what happens out there. What happens out there is someone else's business. You can control how you react. It's to really live by these principles. The more we live by these principles, the more they're actually changing our biology. It's not an intellectual concept. It's nice as a concept, but that's not what's going to get us to have a different experience. The change in experience is when we feel it, when we believe it, and we know that this is the way that it is. And then we can see it. It happens all the time. It's happening. Even right now, there's so many different things that we're carrying from before this moment to after this moment that's so unnecessary. It would have been much better forgetting. And so leaving the apartment, leaving the house, leaving the diras kva, is leaving all the things that have gotten old, that have gotten stuck, that have been affecting you, and you haven't even noticed that they're affecting you. They've been running in the background. And now we're trying to convince our imagination that it's time to let go. It's time to move out. It's time to see other possibilities. It's time to realize that all these frames of reference that we've created are all random. They don't have any basis outside of our own biology. And our biology is constantly evolving. What was yesterday an absolute idea that we felt we could completely rely on might seem today like absolute fiction. And that's because our biology has changed. We were authentic both times. It's not that we didn't phrase the question properly. It's not that we weren't looking for the real answer. It's that the tools that we use to get those answers have changed. And so nothing is fixed. Everything is moving. And within those moving parts, there is something. And these are the attributes, the divine attributes, that are fixed, even though to us they are beyond comprehension. They are the intelligences that are causing things to be the way that they are. We align with them, we align with reality, we are disaligned, and then there's conflict, there's friction. And these attributes are the ones that we have visiting us in the sukkah. We left the house and now we're available to experience. Now we have the attributes coming one by one and allowing us to get to know them better. And this happens to every individual that leaves their old ways of thinking. They will become very familiar with their emotions quite quickly. What was running in the background and wasn't even visible, and everybody else around them was experiencing, will suddenly become very, very visible to them as the brain is trying to learn how to control these things. That until now, were just running on autopilot. They weren't being controlled at all. They weren't being regulated. So this is the opportunity we have to change the scenery, to change the feeling, to change the interaction, the relationship, to renew. And this is on a cycle. We constantly need to do these things. It's not something that we do and we're done. There's always a deeper level. There's always more. Every time we do it, there's a certain development that happens within us that helps us do it better the next time. And so, may we have the merit to be able to cleanse ourselves, to be able to remove from ourselves those obstacles that are keeping us back, that are holding up our energy, that are limiting our life force. And we should be liberated. We should find freedom, individually and collectively. May it happen soon.